phones, Babylons can't crack the code.
Every year with players graduating or declaring for the NFL, there's always room for people to show up every season and have a breakout year and to really submit themselves on the scene. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 college football players that I believe will have a breakout campaign in the 2023 college football season. Before I move on, remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's get into it. The first player that I'm going to be talking about in today's video is Tennessee wide receiver Bru McCoy. Bru McCoy appeared in 12 games during the 2022 season, in which he had a good year with 52 receptions for 667 receiving yards, averaging nearly 13 yards a reception and 4 touchdowns through the air. How did Bru McCoy stack up against the other receivers in the offense for the Tennessee Volunteers offense for 2022? He was second in receiving yards, second in receptions, and he was third in receiving touchdowns. With Jalen Hyatt officially going to the NFL, who was their leading receiver in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns, there is going to be a big opportunity for anyone in that Tennessee Volunteer receiving room to really show up and be that lead receiver for the Volunteers in 2023. On to the next player. It is Quinn Ewers, quarterback for Texas. Quinn Ewers had his first year as a starting quarterback. Heck, really his first year playing collegiate snaps during the 2022 college football season. As in 2021 with Ohio State, he was a backup quarterback who showed up just a little before the start of the 2021 season and ultimately only played a few snaps in which he handed the ball off. Now with Texas in 2022, he was the starting quarterback the entire season when he was healthy. He did miss a couple games. He ultimately would play in a total of 10 of them, 10 out of the 13 that Texas played in during the 2022 season. In regards to his performance in 2022, it really depends on who you talk to and who you really ask about how he played, because some will say he was disappointing, some will say he was solid and showed a lot of potential. In my opinion, I thought he was solid and did show some potential, but he also did have some games where he really did struggle. Overall, in the 10 games that he played in, he completed 58% of his passes, threw for 2,177 yards, 15 touchdowns compared to 6 interceptions. The Texas offense is going to have a lot of their receiving threats back with them in 2023, and they're going to have basically the entire offensive line unit. I believe this is going to be a big jump for Quinn Ewers in 2023, and I think Texas is going to be a pretty good team as well. I'm not expecting Quinn Ewers to win the Heisman Trophy or anything like that, but I do believe he has potential to contend for it. Next up, I'm going to be talking about running back from Utah, Jaquindon Jackson. Jaquindon Jackson has had an interesting college football career up to this point, as he entered college as a quarterback at Texas, eventually transferred from Texas to Utah where he was still a quarterback, and ultimately in 2022, he made the switch to the running back position, and it seems to be paying off. As in 12 games played for the Utes in 2022, Jaquindon Jackson had 78 rushing attempts for 531 yards, averaging nearly 7 yards a carry, and 9 total touchdowns on the ground as someone who wasn't the main workhorse running back. He also had some really big games during the 2022 campaign that should really make you excited as a Utah Ute fan. For example, he had 97 rushing yards, averaging 7.5 yards per carry and 1 touchdown versus Arizona, had 117 yards on the ground versus Colorado and 3 touchdowns. Versus USC in the Pac-12 championship game, he had 105 yards on the ground, averaged 8 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and most recently versus Penn State, he had yet again another good game, 81 yards on the ground and a touchdown. There's a lot of potential in Jaquindon Jackson as a running back. I'm expecting him to have a bigger workload for Utah in 2022. I don't think he's going to be someone that's going to have 100% of the carries or like 90% of the carries. I think it's still going to be a pretty split room, but he's definitely going to get more opportunities in the 23 season, and I think he's going to have yet again another good year. For the final part of this video, I'm going to be talking about players on the defensive side of the ball that I'm expecting to break out. The first one being Maryland linebacker Sean Borum. Borum, as a true freshman for the Terrapins in 2022, had a good year, as in 12 games played, he had 58 total tackles, 35 of which being solo, 6.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, a pass deflection, a fumble recovery, and 1 forced fumble. He would receive honors during the 2022 campaign, such as a first-team freshman All-American and an honorable mention All-Big Ten team member. As it goes with him compared to the other players on the Maryland defense, Borum was definitely one of the better ones there, as he was third in total tackles at 58, just behind Bo Braid and Dante Trader, who had 85 tackles and 62 tackles. Either way, for the linebacker core, Borum definitely had the best season and the most impressive one. He even led the team in sacks with 6.5 sacks. He definitely has a really good career ahead of him, and he's definitely on pace to be someone that's going to be a big name player in the Big Ten and for Maryland for the years to come. Staying in the Big Ten for this next player, it is Penn State edge Chop Robinson. Robinson started his college football career at Maryland and transferred to Penn State for the 2022 season, where he primarily played as an edge DN prospect. He racked up 26 tackles, 19 of which being solo, 10 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, a fumble recovery, and a forced fumble. Some of the accolades that he garnered during his 22 campaign was being Penn State's Defensive Player of the Week 3 times and being selected as an All-Big Ten, honorable mention by the coaches and the media, while Pro Football Focus had him as a second-team selection for the Big Ten. Chop Robinson is a player who has a very high upside and showed that he can really ball out in the Big Ten, not only from 2021, but transitioning and developing more as a player during 2022. That Penn State defense during 2022 was one of the best in the nation, only allowing 18 points a game, which was 10th out of the 131 FBS teams that competed during the season. And they're expected to be one of the top teams in college football in 2023 yet again, and they're a team that could have potential to be a playoff team if they really put it all together for the full season, as they're coming off a strong year, and they have a lot of that defense coming back, and I'm expecting Chop Robinson to be a big contributor and a big playmaker for the Nittany Lions. Well guys, if you made it this far in today's video, drop something down in the comment section below. What players do you think will break out during the 2023 college football season? And before you head out, remember to smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, and subscribe if you haven't already. B. Kelly out.